Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So today we've got a lot to talk about. The Andor Season 2 finale is tomorrow, and today I want to share with you some final theories, some interesting thoughts and speculation before the final farewell of this show. I'm gonna miss it. Now I don't usually do this, but before we get into the actual Star Wars content, I feel like it's necessary to share with you a personal life update. I will say as a disclaimer, if you want to jump right into the Andor stuff, here is the timestamp, go right to it. But if you don't mind, I just wanted to address something. So you might have noticed the last day or so I've been a bit slower with my video output. I always aim to release a video a day. I've been doing it for 5 years. There has been the odd occasion, family events, personal life stuff, where I just couldn't do a video. But even on my so-called days off, I am still planning videos, writing scripts, or editing. But over the last 5 or 6 days, I've really not felt like myself. My headspace, physically speaking, and I just physically couldn't do a video yesterday. I just felt very burnt out and I had to listen to my body. So I want to apologize if you're expecting a video and you were waiting for it. You guys are amazing. I hope this makes up for it. I hope to put out content as much as I can. I love doing this. Star Wars is my passion. So I'm always going to try and better my videos, put out the best content I can make. I never make videos just for the sake of making them. I love what I do, but I always want to give you guys a video you want to see. So hopefully you enjoy this one. And I also just want to say, we just officially passed the 5-year anniversary of the channel. 5 years of Star Wars Meg. Whether you followed me since 2020 or you've just joined last week, I appreciate you so much. So no more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into Andor Season 2. So this is it my dear friends. After tomorrow night, we're pretty much done with live action Star Wars until 2026. We've got The Mandalorian and Grogu and Ahsoka Season 2, but we've also got some exciting things on the animated front. Darth Maul's Shadow Lord. Really excited for the canonization of Darth Talon. But Andor Season 2 was something truly different. And it all comes down to this. Who's going to live and who's going to die? And are there some big twists in the way they connect this to Rogue One? Well, that is exactly what I wanted to talk to you guys about. There are quite a few ways the final episodes might tie into the Erso family. And so I want to begin with a crazy theory that might just make sense. I would say based on what I've seen that the majority of fans who've given Andor Season 2 a chance have really loved it. But there's a question I've seen time and again. Aside from Mon Mothma leaving the Senate, was there another layer of purpose to the Gorman massacre? There was a lot of messaging about the brutality of authoritarianism, even propaganda with the Ministry of Enlightenment, but here's something you might not have considered. Krennic needed Calcite for the Death Star project. What if the person who advised him to do this was Galen Erso? What if inadvertently, Galen caused the Gorman massacre? What if he was trying to delay construction on the Death Star project? Maybe it was part of his greater plan, suggesting a rare mineral on a planet with great political influence, a place he never expected the Empire to invade. Maybe he convinces Krennic they can't use alternatives. It has to be Gorman Calcite. It's a pretty interesting theory. He's still bought the rebellion roughly 3 years, and without the Gorman massacre, the Rebel Alliance would not have been founded so soon. But believe it or not, Galen ties into many theories for the finale. One of the big predictions for the final 3 episodes is that Luthen is not going to make it. He's not going to live to see the sunrise he helped to build. But the last time I said this, I received an interesting response. What if Luthen unexpectedly survives and is still around later during the New Republic? The production team of Andor loves to mess with us. It's an interesting thought. Maybe Luthen goes into hiding. But there is proof in Rogue One that Luthen kind of has to die in the final arc. It all concerns the role of Jyn Erso. If Luthen was still around during Rogue One, then Mon Mothma and the rebellion wouldn't have called upon Jyn to reach out to Saw Gerrera. Mon would have asked Luthen. She already knows him, and she knows he has connections to Saw. If Luthen was still around, he would have been far more discreet. Jyn was a wildcard. She had just been broken out of prison, and the rebellion didn't fully trust her. It was a huge gamble. Think of it this way. Luthen in the Andor show has been a central architect of the rebellion. He's got a wide network, he understands and knows the different factions, and he can always smell a rat. As we saw on Tuesday, and as we're going to see in the finale, he is starting to lose allies. And the Rebel Alliance on Yavin is operating separately to him. And I think that's going to come to a head. But if he was still around in Rogue One, Mon Mothma would have called upon him as a valuable asset, even as a partisan. He acts in the shadows, but he still has influence. So even in Rogue One, with the rebellion split, if Luthen was alive, she would have gone to him first. And you might say, well, Jyn knew Saw Gerrera better because she was raised by him before being abandoned, and she was the daughter of Galen Erso. So you might say there's much more of a personal connection. And maybe Mon is still scared of Luthen. He might still be around, but she doesn't want anything to do with him. However, my dear friends, from a narrative perspective, I still think it's more beneficial to kill Luthen off, to have him out of the way by the time of Rogue. Now, I think there's a mandatory scene they have to include in the final 3 episodes. The split between the Partisans and the Rebel Alliance. The final divide between Mon Mothma and Saw Gerrera. Again, something which could connect well to Star Wars Rebels. I imagine that's going to be a very lively conversation if they decide to show it. Saw and Mon arguing, Saw saying that he doesn't want to team up with all of the different groups, maybe a follow-up to his very first speech about him being the only one with clarity of purpose. Now, regardless of the way the finale plays out, the trailer confirms we're about to see one of the most well-trained groups of ISB agents, the Tactical Agents. They've already announced Black Series figures and Lego minifigures of these guys, but we don't know their purpose. I reckon, and I've said this before during my breakdown, Dedra is going to double down and avenge Cyril. She might find out he was fighting Cassian Andor, and this could prompt another hunt of Axis, bringing in the big guns, because now that she's lost her lover, she might feel like she's got nothing to lose. There has been speculation she might be put on the Death Star project, but I reckon she's going to be too caught up with Cyril's death. And you know who else might play into this? Uncle Hollow. Maybe at this point, Dedra and Edie are living together, and because Edie loved her son, even though she had a weird way of expressing it, she might be on board with the plan and get Uncle Hollow involved, because this is a family matter. But once again, my dear friends, Andor is jumping another year, and in Star Wars canon, we know a surprising amount of what takes place in 1BBY, events which the show has to work around, but also incorporate. In the final year of Andor Season 2, rumours begin to spread throughout the galaxy about the Empire's new superweapon. We're probably not going to see Erso because she's still in prison, but a big question is, to bridge the gap between this show and Rogue One, could we see Galen Erso? Could we see his efforts to sabotage the Death Star from within, creating the fatal flaw that the rebellion exploits in A New Hope? Another character who could feature is Bodhi Rook. Galen convinced Bodhi of the true horrors of the Death Star. Overcome with a crisis of conscience, Galen entrusted Bodhi with a message to be delivered to the rebellion, informing them of the station's vulnerability. They need to show us the true terror that rumors of the Death Star cause certain rebels, and how at this point, pre-Scarif, pre-Jeddah, they didn't even know what it was. All they knew is that it was a superweapon, and so we're likely going to see the scramble to try and work out what it is. So to summarize my first contention, I don't think Luthen can survive. It makes Rogue One too messy, unless he disappears, goes into hiding, Axis Cell gets found out, he adopts a new identity, flees to somewhere hidden, and maybe he'll appear in a future project. Another major question, what happened to Perrin and Leader, Mon Mothma's family? We never got to see their reaction to Mon leaving the Senate, and the backlash that might have caused. Did she separate from Perrin? Was it a goodbye without closure? I would love a moment where they're watching her galactic broadcast, her announcement of rebellion, just to see Perrin and Leader's reactions. I mean, it couldn't have been easy for them. Another question I want to address is, are we going to see Kino Loy? There were rumours during the filming of Season 2 that Andy Serkis was on set, but we've not seen him yet, unless they're saving him for Yavin 4 base. Now that the rebellion's been officially established, we're jumping ahead to 1BBY, I think Andy teased that Kino is alive, so I imagine we might see a small cameo from him. But one character I do expect again is Bail Organa, and there have been a few fan concerns over a Rebels retcon in the most recent episode. In episode 9, Bail tells Mon he'll meet her in a year's time, but in Star Wars Rebels, when she's giving her galactic broadcast, he's already with the rebellion and Dodona. I guess the best way to explain this is that Bail changed his mind. He may have said a year, but her speech in the Senate, the first speech not the second one, may have convinced Bail to fast track his conversion. And so finally, my dear friends, we now know the runtimes for the last 3 episodes, and they're on the shorter side compared to the last 3 arcs. Compared to 58 minutes for episode 9, episode 10 is 48 minutes, episode 11, 42, and episode 12, the finale, 46. I always say quality over quantity, and so far the show's been top notch. So excited for this, but also heartbroken to say goodbye to it. If you enjoyed this video, my dear friends, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, thank you for being patient, I hope you enjoyed this one, and may the Force be with you, always.